Yes!
As a homebuyer, you are not obligated to pay your realtor's commissions. It's already been negotiated for you when the listing agent met with the seller. So the seller already knows that they're going to be paying all realtor commissions. That's already been negotiated for you in the contract.
Yep. Representation is very important. A buyer should be represented just as much as a seller is represented during a real estate transaction. You already know that the seller is represented because you saw the sign in the yard, period. That agent works for that seller. So the only way to make sure that you have 100% representation on your side is to have a buyer's agent, a realtor that's working only for you, that has no obligation or relationship with that seller at all. Caveat, that doesn't necessarily mean that an agent can't work both sides, but that does mean that they then become a referee versus a coach. An agent is working as a transaction broker is what that's called, working the seller's side and the buyer's side, can referee the deal. They can still facilitate the transaction, but they cannot coach one side or the other.
When you're choosing a realtor, when you're trying to find out who you want to work with and who fits best with your personality, one of the biggest things to take into consideration is how they communicate. So if you are a texter, you need to find someone who's savvy and who wants to do that with you. If you are at work all day and you're going to be emailing, find someone who's going to be able to email you. And same thing goes with the time frame that they're able to work. So again, when you're looking for a realtor and you're talking to maybe a couple different ones, which is fine in the beginning, just make sure that they can work the hours that you are able to see the homes. So if you can only go on the weekends, make sure you have an agent that is willing to work on the weekends and show you homes on the weekends.
Right, not every agent works on weekends, so that's pretty important. Mm-hmm. And always let other agents know that you have a realtor already. If in the event you're at an open house or something like that, you run into someone else asking questions or whatever, asking questions totally fine. Just let them know that you already have an agent so we have full disclosure.
Another thing we can touch on is that the access to information that realtors have is much, much more than the public. So you might be pulling stats from Zillow or Trulia or some mortgage website or something like that, but the information that we use is from our MLS system. It's the data is accurate and it's correct, and when we're pulling comparables, when we are trying to do a market analysis for you, we're using extremely up-to-date information. Today's information. So just know that when you're working with a professional, which you should be, that is a benefit to you.
So when looking for a house, you may not necessarily see a great deal online, price-wise or whatever. Great deals are created by realtors. Doesn't necessarily mean you're lowballing a bunch of houses, because around here, you've heard from us before, we're not doing that. But it does mean that we can work in some other things to negotiate. Maybe it's not all about price. Maybe you are price driven, great, but what if you're closing costs driven? Or what if it's important to you to have a home warranty or brand new appliances, something like that. We'll make a great deal, and the way that you can do that is by working with a realtor that is representing you.
And the last thing I would say is that if you were not using a realtor, whether you're a buyer or a seller, buyers and sellers don't typically get along in a lot of scenarios. So there's one end goal, and that's for the seller to sell their house and the buyer to buy it. And a lot of times that gets kind of skewed, and buyers and sellers drift away from that. It gets
personal.
It gets very personal. So if you have a realtor, one of the purposes of that is so that they can facilitate that for you. They can facilitate getting everyone to the closing table, and it goes through negotiation and all other things. There's so many moving parts to a real estate transaction, that it's just so important to have that professional on your side.
Yeah, we're used to that. We do that every day. So moving parts is nothing to us. That's how normal. We do it.
Yeah.
Holler if you have any questions. We're always here for you. Until next time.
Bye.
See ya. Should I work with a realtor? Very likely.
Now we're about to tell you why.
Can't you just say yes? Absolutely.